Why do some people stay when leaving would be easier, quieter, and even praised by others? Sometimes the answer is not loyalty to a place, but loyalty to a moment that never let go. There is a kind of strength that grows only when no one is watching. If that idea feels familiar, stay with this story a little longer. Ethan Miller grew up where mornings arrived slowly and nothing felt rushed. The land around him was wide, uneven, and honest, asking for patience more than ambition. People learned early how to listen to silence. For Ethan, those quiet spaces became places where thoughts settled instead of escaped. Most days looked the same, yet none felt empty to him. Fields stretched toward low hills, fences leaned with age, and roads curved without urgency. He walked them often, not to arrive anywhere, but to feel grounded. Life felt small, but not meaningless. It simply asked him to notice it.
As he got older, the world beyond those roads grew louder. Friends talked about cities, faster lives, and futures that sounded brighter from far away. Ethan listened without interrupting. He felt the pull too, but it came with a quiet weight he could never fully explain to anyone else. One by one, people left. Some promised to visit, others promised nothing at all. Empty houses became familiar landmarks. The town didn't collapse, it just softened, like a voice used less often. Ethan noticed how silence changed shape, becoming heavier at night and longer in the mornings. There was no single reason he stayed, no dramatic vow or spoken promise. It was a series of ordinary mornings where leaving felt wrong in a way he couldn't argue with. Staying wasn't brave, and it wasn't fearful. It was simply the choice that let him breathe normally. Pressure arrived quietly, carried by casual questions. People asked when he would go, not if. Each question felt like a gentle push toward a door already open. Ethan smiled and answered politely, while something inside him tightened. Explaining his reasons felt impossible, so he stopped trying. At times, doubt settled in during long evenings. He wondered if staying meant missing out on a larger life. The thought didn't scare him, but it lingered. He learned that doubt doesn't shout. It waits patiently, hoping repetition will turn uncertainty into regret if given enough time. Work was steady, modest, and predictable. It didn't impress anyone who had already left, yet it gave his days structure and his hands purpose. Ethan noticed how routine created quiet pride. There was comfort in knowing what tomorrow would ask of him, even if others found it small.
Loneliness showed up in unexpected ways, not as sadness, but as pauses between conversations that never happened. He felt it most at dusk, when the lights softened everything. Instead of fighting it, Ethan learned to sit with it, letting the feeling pass like weather rather than treating it as failure. The land became a mirror for his patience. Seasons changed without urgency, reminding him that progress didn't always need witnesses. Growth happened quietly, underground, long before anything was visible. Watching this taught him something cities never could. Not all meaningful change announces itself when it arrives. Occasionally, messages arrived from far away. Old friends described crowded rooms and restless nights. Their lives sounded full, yet oddly strained. Ethan read those words carefully, sensing both excitement and exhaustion beneath them. He realized that distance didn't remove uncertainty, it only changed its shape and volume. There were moments he questioned himself sharply. Standing alone on a quiet road, he wondered if comfort was holding him back. The thought stayed with him, but never stayed long. Something about the stillness answered without words, reminding him that clarity sometimes arrives through absence, not noise. He noticed how his senses sharpened over time. Subtle changes in wind, light, and sound became familiar signals. This awareness made his days feel fuller than they looked from the outside. What others saw as isolation, he experienced as attention. Staying taught him how to actually notice his life. Pressure returned during holidays, when empty chairs were harder to ignore. The quiet felt heavier then, but also honest. Ethan didn't try to replace what was missing. He learned that absence didn't always need fixing. Sometimes it only needed acknowledgement, like a shadow that proves light exists nearby.
One evening, while watching the sun sink behind the hills, something shifted gently inside him. He realized he had been measuring his life with other people's rulers. The moment wasn't dramatic, but it was clear. Staying wasn't a delay, it was alignment with something he valued deeply. After that, explanations felt unnecessary. He stopped rehearsing answers to questions no one asked anymore. His choice settled into him like a steady heartbeat. Not exciting, but reliable. He understood that peace often looks boring from the outside, yet feels expansive when you're the one living inside it. The town remained quiet, unchanged in obvious ways, but Ethan felt different within it. He walked with less hesitation and more acceptance. Nothing had improved on paper, yet everything felt lighter. He learned that relief doesn't always come from change. Sometimes it comes from stopping the internal argument altogether.
People still left, and new names replaced old ones on mailboxes. Ethan noticed without resentment. He understood that leaving and staying weren't opposites. They were responses to different needs. What mattered was not the direction chosen, but the honesty behind it. His honesty happened to point him homeward. There were still hard days. Staying didn't erase effort or responsibility. It simply removed the constant comparison. Ethan focused on what was in front of him, not what might impress someone elsewhere. That focus built a quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't ask to be recognized or validated by anyone. Over time, he noticed younger faces asking the same questions he once heard. He didn't advise them, he listened. He knew now that choices feel different when they come from within. Advice can't replace that. Each person had to feel their own tension before finding the direction that allowed them to breathe. The landscape didn't reward him with applause. It offered consistency instead. Mornings still arrived slowly. Roads still curved gently. In that repetition, Ethan found strength, not the loud kind that conquers, but the steady kind that endures, the kind that holds when everything else moves on without you. He understood something important then. Staying was not about resisting change. It was about choosing which changes mattered. His life was shaping itself quietly, without spectators. That didn't make it smaller. It made it precise, tailored to who he was, rather than who he was expected to become. Loneliness still visited, but it no longer frightened him. It arrived, stayed briefly, and left. He stopped labeling it as a problem. In its place grew a calm awareness that company doesn't always come from people. Sometimes it comes from being fully present where you already are. Ethan didn't claim his life was better than anyone else's. He simply knew it was his. That knowledge grounded him more than ambition ever had. The world beyond the hills continued spinning fast. Here, time moved differently, and he had finally stopped trying to match another rhythm. Years passed without a clear milestone to mark success, yet his sense of belonging deepened quietly. He had chosen something and stayed with it, even when no one was watching. That consistency became its own reward. Not flashy, not shareable, but deeply stabilizing in a way he hadn't expected. If someone asked him now why he stayed, he might struggle to answer. Words felt too rigid for something so lived in. He would probably smile and pause. Some choices only make sense when you stop defending them. They settle into you, and explanation becomes unnecessary. The village remained quiet, but it no longer felt empty. Ethan understood that presence can fill space more than noise ever could. Staying had taught him patience, acceptance, and a grounded sense of worth. Not because he stayed, but because he stayed honestly, without waiting for permission or approval. As evening lights came on one by one, he felt no urge to be elsewhere. The road behind him was long, the road ahead familiar. In that balance, he found calm. A life doesn't need to be loud to be meaningful. Sometimes it just needs to be chosen and lived. If this story felt close to something in you, you already understand it. Staying is not about fear or comfort. It's about listening carefully to what lets you stand still without feeling stuck. If this resonated, feel free to like, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more quiet stories.